Hello, Jace Fugate here with another session of the Introduction to the Go Programming Language course. So today we're going to be introducing functions. You've seen functions, or you've seen a function, because in every Go package that's going to be compiled down to a binary, you always have a main function. And so all functions have or follow a similar syntax. So let's go ahead and do something here. Let's say we have a variable a equals 10 and then variable b equals 15. And then we want to say that c equals b minus 10. And then we want to print out the difference. Well, as you notice here, I did not define c. I have to either use var or I need to use the shorthand syntax. So I'll go ahead and do it that way. So let's run this. Prints out 5. That's kind of what we expect. Well, what if we wanted to use this kind of a thing a lot in our program, but we didn't want to always have to explicitly do this subtraction? Or if maybe down the road we have a lot of this subtraction, but we realize we actually want to add something else into this equation. Well, let's break this out and make a new function that will do that subtraction for us. So I'm going to make a function called sub. So func space sub parentheses, and this time, unlike the main function, we're actually going to put something here. We're going to say a, and we'll take an integer, and then b, an integer, and we will return an integer. So again, let's go over this again. So you have func space, the name of the function, the parameters. We'll talk about what these parameters are and what they do. But the parameters, these are things that we can use within the function that come from somewhere else. And then we do a space, and then we say, well, this is what we are going to return. This is what this function is going to give back. And then some curly braces. So let's say return b minus a. Now we can actually replace this with sub, put b comma a. Let's go and run this, and I'll talk a little bit about how this is working. Oh, I got that backwards. Let's go ahead just so we have the same thing coming out. So we have 5. So what this did is we made some reusable code. So anytime you call sub and then pass it 2 integers, because that's what this wants, this will then run whatever code we have in here. And in fact, let's do this. So we run this code, set it to another variable, and then we give that value back. And it is an integer. This is typed, which will then equal, we can make c equal whatever sub returned. It's important to note that this is typed. We cannot put in a string here. It'll yell at you because it says this function that it takes an integer and an integer. We gave it a string and an integer. That doesn't work. As well, we cannot pass something else back that is different than what we said we would. This is going to yell and say, hey, you can't use hello. It's a typed string, and this is supposed to return an integer. Functions are extremely important. You do not want to make one giant program just inside your main. You want to be able to break this out so that in the future you can test things easier, and it's just a lot easier to read. You can give these functions good names. You wouldn't want to call this add, because then that would be incorrect because it actually subtracts. You want to give your functions good names so that you can organize your code and reuse your code. So what if this sub function, if actually every time we wanted it to subtract, we also wanted to subtract an extra 2. We could do that. But if we had this b minus a throughout our whole entire program, we would have to go through and try to find every time it runs this and put another thing on there, another -2. Functions are very useful. You can call functions within functions if you really wanted to. I'm going to make a function similar to the main function. It doesn't take any arguments, doesn't give anything back. And let's run this inside here. You notice how I'm not returning anything, and I'm also not capturing the return in any variable because you don't have to. Let's run this. Here you go, ran thing. Let's put a new line on the end of here and make this a little more readable. So you can call functions that can call functions that can call functions. Thank you so much for being here. We'll be talking more about functions in the next session. We'll see you again.